In today's video, I want to talk about a a person that I think really impacted me when it came to understanding the concept of decision making in business. It's not a long story. I won't bore you with all the details, but we had a client that called us, came to us and said, I'm really interested in making a website, and I've had a really bad experience in the past. And this is a story I'm very much used to hearing. Unfortunately, a lot of the clients that I work with come to us because of what I would call website trauma that you all have experienced in the past. Whether it's a web developer that did not know what they were doing, or a person that said that they would do something and they lied and did not fulfill on that promise, whatever it may be. This person had a similar experience. Um, so we sat down, we talked, we discussed, the intricacies of her business. A lot of it had to do with logistics, and as we began to talk, I could just hear in her voice that there was something, really concerning her about not just the process, but moving forward in general. So I asked her, I said, "Hey, what are you thinking about? What do you think is going to happen? What's wrong?" And so talking with her, she had very real concerns about the success of the business, um, not just because of the website, not just because of the digital presence, but because of other things that are outside of web development, which involved, for her part, um, distribution, a lot of logistical and distribution um, concerns. Ones that were very real because during this time there I'm not going to get to the politics of it, but recently there was a executive order to stop the traffic, not the traffic, the products coming in from China and things of that nature, imports into the country that were cheap. There was a movement and a policy nationwide to transition from getting exports or imports from China that and move to more American products, homemade products, which for many business owners may affect the way that they did business, whether they were doing imports from China or outside, right? And so this became a very real constraint to the point that the client had concerns about whether or not they could actually get the product that they've been selling for years into the country, and to ship that product over to the customers that she wanted to ship them to. And so we talked some time about how to overcome these challenges, whether it was, distributors here in the US that didn't turn into much of a problem. It became more of actually manufacturing the product. The product that she wanted to manufacture did have manufacturers here in the US. They were a little bit more expensive, and that's okay. But they were outside of the price range that she could afford. And so we ended up talking about this we sat down, got pen and paper out, talked through all of these problems and concerns, and the ultimately it came down to finances, and the prospect could not afford to go forward with making the product within the US. She could afford a few, but not on a continuous basis. And so even when it came to making the few products that she could afford, the cost of it prevented her from distributing that product out to the customers that she needed to distribute it to. And so the bottleneck in the business and the endpoint became just being able to get that product from point A to point B, logistics. And so we were getting ready to hop off the call because at this point there wasn't much that we could do in terms of web development. We can only do so much. We do try to help business owners out, but at the end of the day, you still have to go forward and do your business. And so after working through, what could be done for the business, she decided that her approach was going to do to it was going to be to do what she could to move forward, despite the obstacles and despite the situation that she found herself in as far as the business is concerned. And what this looked like in real time is the client taking her car that was not a truck, not a distributing vehicle at all, packing all of the products in the as smaller boxes as possible, putting them both in the trunk, in the back seat, and in the car of her vehicle, going to work, working her day job, doing what needed to be done there, and then after work, taking those products and driving them 60 miles to different areas throughout her region to give them to her clients. And what that showed me is that there is a level of dedication that I think some business owners have, that no matter what happens in business, no matter what happens in life, no matter what circumstances occur, those people who are willing to go forward and put their lives, their reputation, their money on the line, those people will be successful. They will have no shortage of income, they will have no shortage of business, they will have no shortage of opportunity. Because to be able to make a decision in your mind that despite all of the circumstances that may surround you, to move forward with the best that you have and the best that you can do is admirable in many senses. And so in today's video, I just want to talk about the lessons that I learned from that, and how indecision will be the end of many business owners, and you have to make a decision as to whether or not that will be you. If you don't know who I am, my name is Chris Parks. I'm the owner of CP Digital Studio. We make websites for small businesses. And from that, we begin, once the website is made, we also focus on technical SEO to give you more leads so that way you can get more clients for your business. And indecision, I've discovered from that conversation and from that story, will be the end of many business owners. And here's what I mean by that. Movement versus stagnation. There are two people in business, the movers and the stuck. The movers are the people that have limited resources, but unlimited drive and unlimited resolve. These are the people who do not wait for perfect conditions. They create momentum through sheer willpower. Versus what I would call the stuck. These are individuals who may have little or no resources as well, and they have zero velocity. They have zero ability to overcome their circumstances and the willpower to do so. They don't think about the strategy. They don't think about the cost. They just think about what could have been and the regret that they will have forever because they did not make a decision. They are quite literally trapped in analysis paralysis, waiting for perfection that will never arrive. And so the movers, the people that have that 60-mile-a-day mindset, the people that may not be able to afford a full service or a full the full package of a product or of a company, these are the people that will continue to push forward regardless. Similar to the client that I talked about before, driving 60 miles a day to deliver her products to her clients because shipping was too expensive for her business. Those of you who continue to take the approach that we will overcome regardless of the obstacles, you will always be successful. And I hope that this video continues to inspire you, motivate you, and get you to push forward and understand that everything will be okay, not because of good luck, but because you are putting forward the effort and the willpower that will ultimately make you successful. For those of us that take the inconvenient road, the road that is not easy, the road that is off the path, the road that is not paved for us, that road is hard. But for those of us that continue to push forward and decide and commit to an action and commit to our business, we will always be successful and we will always be okay. But there is a resource paradox in this that I do want to talk about. There's often a misconception that if you have more resources, if you have more time, if you have more money, that you will be successful. This is not true. What I have found, and what many of you may realize now by watching this video, is that having less often leads to you doing more because you must be resourceful in what you have. There's a difference between having resources and being resourceful, right? And so, again, taking the client that I was speaking of before, she had no way to get to her clients, no way to distribute her product to her clients other than for her to drive herself. And so she did not have any other resources outside of being able to purchase the limited products that she had. And then from there, driving herself and driving her products and risking life and limb to do so, because 60 miles a day is quite a bit of time and quite a bit of money and quite a bit of gas, but being dedicated enough to do that. It is commitment over comfort. It is the idea and principle that we are committing to this idea, that we said we were going to do something, that we have an idea to do something, and we will not be stagnant. We will not be cowed by the idea of us moving forward. And this is opposite from what I think is the 3 levels of stagnation, or the languages of stagnation. People that are stagnant, people that are stuck, will often say the same things. I will wait until next month, or I will wait until next time, or I will wait until next insert whatever period you think, until I have more or until something about my situation changes. The problem is, in most situations, your situation will not change until you make it change. And until you make it change, it will continue to remain the same because life does not just happen to you. A lot of the times you have to make sure that life happens. The second language is that I will wait for things to be perfect before I start. I must know everything. I must understand the consequences. I must understand what could happen and have plan A, B, C, D, E, and F all the way to Z before we move because everything in the situation must be perfect. For many of us business owners, that is not a reality that we can live in. We must make our situation perfect. We must build the ship as we begin to fly it or sail it, depending on whether you like air or water. And we must make our situation perfect as opposed to us waiting for the perfect opportunity. The last level of stagnation that I've seen in talking to people is I must understand everything about the market, not about the product, but about the market. I must understand market trends. Are we going into war? Are there going to be, some pandemic that will stop us from being successful? And if for certain people, if they do not know the answer to that, their entire business and their entire lives become stagnant because they do not have in their mind enough information to move forward. And the problem with this mindset is that you will never have enough information. You will never know whether or not you can make $1 million+ business until you actually start to make $1 million+ business. You will have no way of knowing all the hurdles in life that you will go through. If we can use marriage as an analogy, you will never be able to fully understand or know what will happen in your marriage until you get married. And then when you start to, I'm married, so that's why I use marriage analogies. And then once you start to go through the fire, once you start to go through the trials and you overcome those, and then you become stronger, that process happens only after you get started. You cannot know what will happen to you in your marriage or to your business until you actually begin to be in it and you understand it. I'll say this point that I think is really important for me and that I really try to live by. At some point, thinking becomes hiding. And so in your business, if you find yourself not just thinking about the business, but obviously thinking to the point that you make no decisions, obviously that is a problem. And the way to solve these problems is by having more, one is willpower, but beyond willpower, more strategy and more time commitment to the business and to the goals that you have in mind so that you can actually commit to them. It becomes a decision that you must make as opposed to just thinking about a decision that you must make, if that makes any sense. And so, comparing the two, the mover will start with a basic flyer and a simple link, a link to the website, and do the best that they can. They will work after 9 to 5 to make sure that they deliver the packages or start the business or whatever they may need to do. After their 9 to 5 job, they will do whatever is required to make sure that they are being successful in the business. They will pay for what they can piece by piece, and that builds something called momentum. And as you gain more momentum, you gain more traction. And as you gain more traction, you gain more results over the period of time. Versus the person that is stuck or the waiter, this person waits for the perfect opportunity. They plan for 6 months in a row with zero offers. They can't afford to help, but they fear the commitment of helping. They can't afford the time, but fear the commitment of time. They can't afford to do more, but are afraid of what doing more may actually do for them and for the business. A sense of failure, a sense that if I step forward and move forward, I will eventually lead to something that will fail or could fail. And the possibility of failure is what causes stagnation. And I will say this, and many business owners understand this: action will always beat perfect conditions. The person who is messy, who starts messy but continues to refine their product and refine their process and refine their offers, will always be more successful than those who refuse to launch for a perfect website. The person who decides to take some of the imperfections that they may have in their business and decide to move forward and push forward will always be more successful than the person who stresses and stops their entire business over one flaw that they may see in their product or their service. Action will always be better than non-action. And I will say this: you are stuck not because you lack resources. You are stuck because you negotiate with the work. And what I would encourage you to do beyond anything today, if you are a business owner watching this or someone who wants to start your business is to not negotiate with the work. The work has to be done. Someone has to do it. in order for the business to thrive. And you, if you decide to be a business owner, will be that person. So there's a few paths to success. The first step is a decision, just making a commitment to lose weight, to eat better, to go to sleep on time, to be a better husband or be a better spouse. That is a decision that you can make today. And if you're watching this and you're a business owner, you don't have a business or a website, I'd like for you to make that decision today by hitting the like button. Um, Movement and momentum is the second step after you make a decision. You will not be perfect, but as you continue to strive and build towards the dream or the vision that you are aspiring to, you start to build movement or momentum. After you get momentum, you can become consistent. And once you become consistent, these are when systems and processes begin to move and you begin to see more and more results piece by piece, little by little. And from that, you get the ultimate form of momentum, which is that you will never stop moving. You will never stop growing and you will continue to build continuously until you reach your dreams. So I would encourage you with this. Hopefully, this story meant something to you. If you are just starting out in your business and you have no idea what you're doing, I want to encourage you to talk to me. My name is Chris Parks. I'm the owner of CP Digital Studio. Before we even talk about building your website, we always take 30 minutes with our clients at least to figure out what do you do and what is stopping you from being successful today. We take the one or two pain points in your business, the one or two bottlenecks. It could be that you don't have a website. It could be that you don't know what to sell. It could be that you're having a distribution problem. And we work with you to figure out what we can do to solve that problem today. If you don't have a social media site, we will make one today. If you are struggling with creating content, we will give you a content strategy today so that you can go forward and make a decision to be committed to your business and be successful in your business and build that momentum and that discipline and that consistency to ultimately become successful. If all of this sounds interesting to you, please hit a like. And more importantly, go to our website, cpdigitalstudio.com. You can check out all the websites we've done for other clients, see our work, and from that, you can contact me and we can get started on making sure that your business is successful. That's all that I have. Bye bye for now.